one thing I wanted to ask: what kind of mindset do you need to do this kind of be in those crazy situations? Because most people will be like really scared.
The key thing is just to not give a fuck.
Right.
Stop giving a fuck. That's if I could just summarize it in one sentence, it would be that. Just stop giving a fuck. And it applies to pickup as well. Just like everyone makes a big deal out of it, like, oh god, I don't think I can approach that girl. It's like you're caring too much. You just need to stop caring. Stop giving so much of a fuck. It's really.
Is it easier said than done? Like,
of course, yeah, it's easier said than done. It's easy to say stop giving a fuck, but that's ultimately what it is. It's just don't give a fuck. Just do the action. Just move your legs, move your mouth. Say something, say hello, say hi, ask a question. That's the foundation.
So there is a lot of dating coaches around nowadays. What would define you specifically? Like, what would separate you from all the other ones?
I guess it's the fact that with me it's very hands-on. I only deal with like the raw reality of it. In other words, like the actual going out there, doing approaches.
So you don't sugarcoat.
It's no bullshit. It's not like just a therapy session where you're sitting and chatting about it. It's going out there and fucking actually doing it, focusing on the taking action. The conversation stuff, the body language stuff, all of these things like that, you know, the first impressions, all of these things that constitute an interaction. These things are what I focus on. Like, how can you optimize that? How can you optimize that initial interaction to increase your chances of getting numbers, going out on dates, taking things further, etc.
Would you, because obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic now, would you say it's getting a bit more difficult for men to meet women nowadays in the current climate?
It is. Like, it's not as easy as it used to be. Some people are a little bit paranoid about the pandemic and COVID and stuff, whereas in some ways it's actually a blessing, because you know there's a lot of single people, lonely out there, girls as well, who want to meet other guys and they want to meet people. Maybe they're a little bit more desperate now. So in some ways it's overall I'd say it's not as good, because you know, let's say you do meet someone and you want to take them out for a date, it's like half the places are closed or they close at random times and there's all these rules and restrictions.
Well, a lot of people are so used to staying at home now, they got like cabin fever, and like to open up again it's going to be a bit tricky.
Exactly. So many people, like the levels of social anxiety have probably risen as a result of this pandemic, and also various other mental health issues as well as a result of like the isolation. So it's certainly made a difference, and it certainly made it more difficult, but if anything it's even more important now that people are meeting each other and at least making that effort to meet each other.
So obviously you've been traveling a lot lately. So what differences do you see between the way women respond to you in different countries?
I'd say like outside of the UK, you know, the girls, they tend to be, I guess, more receptive in some ways into guys coming up to them, doing a cold approach. I think it's just to do with the culture. Like outside of the UK, people are a little bit more open and friendly in general. So that can massively help, because I was in Sweden and Ukraine and also Serbia earlier this year. And it's easier to kind of get into conversations with random people or strangers like on the street. It's almost a bit more like culturally accepted in some ways. That's not to say it can't be done in the UK, because it absolutely can, and it's, in my opinion, it's actually the best way to meet people, even in the UK. But I think like in the UK there's I don't know, we're quite cold as a society, as a culture, and you know, we're brought up in a way where we're told not to speak to strangers are bad, that kind of thing. But I think like overseas, the people are slightly more open to it, and there's more chance that, you know, the girls are going to be interested in you. There's also the fact that, you know, the British accent definitely helps a lot. So like if you've got a British accent and you're out there with British, I mean the girls, they are intrigued by it. They think it's cool, the fact that you're from the UK, you're visiting their country. They find that intriguing. They find that as like it gives you that kind of edge of like being an interesting person, where there's something that they really want to find out about you, why it is that you've come there, what your story is, that kind of thing. It definitely gives you an edge.
Well, I mean, traveling in general makes you a more rounded, interesting person, like international. So definitely recommend it like to anyone.
Yeah, and it's just a great experience because like the girls are different, the cultures are different. It's just it's great just to go out there, have that alternative experience, especially if you've been like doing a lot of say day game in the UK or in London. Just going out, exploring different places. It's just such a valuable, enriching experience because the girls are different as well. They're not only generally speaking far more attractive, but they're just more interesting because they've got that different sort of life experience as well as different upbringings and just the whole culture.
Have to adapt to it, I suppose. Like you might have a different kind of personality, what they have, or different morals. So
like in Ukraine, for example, like the girls. Most of them are looking for husbands, and they're 21, 22, and they're looking for husbands. They're looking for that long-term like husband guy. Whereas 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds in the UK, I mean, they're just looking for a guy that they can meet in a party or something. And another thing I noticed was that like when I was having jokes with some of the Ukrainian girls, like I'd be doing my normal banter, whatever, saying something as a joke, but it wouldn't quite translate as a joke to them. So sometimes they'd be taking what I was saying very literally. So there's these like different, like it'd be like a blank stare, or it'd just be like they'd be like taking it the wrong way when it's clearly meant as a joke. And anywhere else where they speak good levels of English, they would understand that it's a joke. But over there, because the culture's a bit different and they take everything so literally, they don't have that level of banter, that same level of banter, and so things do get misinterpreted. And so you just sometimes there's just these little things these little nuances that are just different, and you have to like adapt a bit.
So to kind of round this off, so what's your general philosophy on dating?
I guess I'd say like when it comes to dating, it's just to be natural as possible. I don't believe in like pretending to be someone you're not, or using like scripted lines, or seeing someone else act a certain way on YouTube or somewhere else and then trying to emulate them and copy them. I believe that people should be themselves to a large extent, whilst also bearing in mind that there are certain learned and applied skills involved as well when it comes to social interaction, and when it comes especially to flirting, and when it comes to actually creating that emotional connection with a person. I think there are certain learned skills that should be applied, but it's about combining that with just generally being yourself, and not necessarily being someone else because you see them getting success, so therefore you feel like you should emulate them. So that's my main kind of philosophy, I would say. And then generally speaking, the way I try to coach is just dealing with the raw, honest reality of dating and of day game.
It's a harsh world.
Realizing the reality of the sexual marketplace, realizing your value, your sexual market value, just these like harsh truths that you need to sort of bear in mind. Things like looks matter, they do matter. I don't like to bullshit people so they don't matter. It's all about your verbal communication. There's a lot of
unflattering, uncomfortable truths.
There are some uncomfortable truths. There's a lot of bullshit in the industry. I like to just deal with the raw, honest reality of what happens, what's happening.
And general life philosophy.
I would say be happy and don't screw other people over. So
good words.
I would say happiness whilst not screwing other people over.
That's a good point.
The reason I like to do coaching is because it's something I'm massively passionate about, and I feel like it's something that's lacking in the world generally. We don't get taught these social skills of how to interact with the opposite sex or how to flirt.
Well, definitely not back in the day.
Like in school they don't teach you this stuff.
In school.
And I'm thinking like, on the one hand, it'd be good if they actually did teach these things to kids and teenagers and stuff, because it would massively help them in the real world. But another part of me thinks that, okay, if you were to teach it in schools, part of that magic would be lost, and there's a certain like magic involved in terms of actually finding out about it, learning about it, and then applying it when you're in your adult life, finding out about it, exploring it, discovering it, whether it's to like whatever avenue that takes. There's a certain like wonder, I guess, in terms of actually discovering it, and
to make it like so academic, would take away some of the magic.
and to like institutionalize something that's quite that should be quite natural. Have fun.
Have fun, guys.
Don't take it all so seriously. Like a lot of guys, they get into this thing and they just take it so fucking seriously. Like, oh, I must get a girlfriend. Oh shit, I didn't get any numbers today. Fuck. And it's like, just relax and just like realize it's not such a big deal. You don't want to be putting too much pressure on yourself, because then, like, first of all, you're just gonna not end up enjoying what you're doing, and it's just gonna make you depressed. Like, the whole thing with this is that you want to just be genuinely enjoying going out, doing the dating stuff, going out, approaching, going out on dates. You want to actually genuinely enjoy those things, because if you look at it as work, it's never going to end up going well for you, because it's just going to be something that you don't particularly want to do. You're just doing it because you feel like you should be doing it, but it's not something internally you're actually wanting to do. So yeah, I think like the way you go about it should resonate with you on a personal level, on an emotional level, and it's something that you genuinely want to do, and it brings you genuine happiness into your life.
Daygame coaching, right?
I thought you looked it up.
That's the full name, right? Just so I don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not to be confused with Endgame, because if you type in Endgame into YouTube, then Avengers Endgame comes up. So that's why I had to change the name to Endgame Coaching. But yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, guys. Take care.
Cool. Cheers. Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on your approach to girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.